Less that and other news and information already on tap for the rest of the week. The Library Board of McGoffin County has met this week, as has the Johnson County Fiscal Court, Paintsville City Council. I sat down this morning for a delightful interview with a lovely little lady whose story should inspire us all. And that's all I'm going to say at this point, but all to come up later on in the week. On tonight's program, we'll go ahead and begin right now by discussing the trial in London. Today was the first full day of testimony. We'll pick up where we left off last evening as well. With so much testimony and material, I'm not going to be going back and revisiting coverage from the day prior or yesterday, but with some notes received that we didn't have last evening from yesterday's report, I'll just go into a brief synopsis of the intro of the trial. The government outlining a case of corruption and coercion to rig the absentee voting process in McGoffin County. It identified who it calls the leader or director, that being Judge Executive Charles Hardin, the money men, including Rooster Reisner, the middlemen who distribute the money, such as Jerry Helton, and the verifiers, as they were called, Scotty McCarty and Larry Shepard. Shepard, in his capacity, able to verify who and how they voted through his wife's office. Ken Taylor, the federal prosecutor, also mentioned several unindicted co-conspirators. He referred to them, telling the jury that they will hear their names throughout this trial on many occasions. Those names include Charles Doc Hardin, Mike Prater, and Jerry Helton, and others. The defense portraying Scotty McCarty as a snake who was trying to save his own skin by giving them information, that being the prosecution or FBI, that they wanted to hear. So Scotty McCarty was still on the stand when I left you last evening. He was being questioned by the prosecution. Ken Taylor going through several absentees that McCarty had said that he had voted. McCarty said they referred to Larry Shepard's office as the whole. That was where, among other discussions, they had the one to discuss buying track phones to confirm the voters at one precinct instead of the ticket scheme that they had used at Carty Branch, which you've heard about on a few occasions, I believe, up until now. Adding that after he was indicted, McCarty says he became emotional and realized that he needed to come clean and confess everything he had done in order to start a new life. The prosecution then turned it over to attorneys representing the four co-defendants. They contended that McCarty was only pleading guilty to a misdemeanor to save his job. They also rebutted the loads of gravel McCarty claimed were stockpiled at Johnny Green's residence as being normal for someone who had a farm. The crossing attorney asked McCarty if H.B. Arnott knew that Scotty had stopped buying votes for Hardin at one point during the 2014 trial and started buying them for Arnott, to which he said he never told H.B., saying he became angry with Hardin after a member of Scotty's family was passed over for a job at the community center, a job that Hardin gave to Randy Salyers' wife, Susie. Earlier testimony from McCarty said Hardin said that he owed Randy his life for going to the pen for him for the last vote-buying scandal. McCarty's testimony also at one point portrays not just an organized conspiracy, if what he says is true. This is what I took out of it. His testimony also at one point portrays not just an organized conspiracy at the behest of the judge executive directed to get himself and those who pay to play elected, but an even broader election rigging conspiracy that likens organized crime. As McCarty testified, leaders of both the Democratic and the Republican parties were working in collusion to get who they chose elected to office and not who the voters may have chosen. Essentially, he testified to authorities that the process voided many elections for the county's top offices by stealing votes, claiming that in one election cycle it was agreed, this being the primary, it was agreed by the parties that the Republicans would let the Democrats in the primary select all the precinct workers to see that Hardin, Shepard, and Sweeney were victors of that trial or that election, and that the next fall, the Republicans in exchange would have the chance to do so, all with the understanding that in the next fall election that Carson Montgomery would be elected as sheriff, making a trade for a year's worth of elections. McCarty later listed several names of people he had given gravel to, going alongside Evan Green, hauling gravel to various residences throughout the county. He outlined, he said, how Randy Salyer gave McCarty money at the courthouse to buy votes, saying he took that money to Stetson Stevens to buy machine absentees, and how those who sold their votes would walk into the courthouse, Larry Shepard would vote them, and how no election forms were filled out in the process. McCarty also further backed up claims about Chester Howard being involved with positioning a Middle Fork Volunteer Fire Department truck in the fire department to block the machines, a story and testimony that we've all heard on a couple of occasions, where they were voting and where it would hide those who were selling their votes, claiming Howard was wide open for Hardin and whoever Hardin wanted, asserting that Chester Howard, who had served as a precinct sheriff in '06 and '08, might even admit to that if he were asked today. McCarty testified that Milo Dean McCarty, a first cousin of his father, paid two of Milo Dean's renters, including a Zach Carty, $20 for their votes. That was the end of testimony yesterday. This morning it began with McCarty still on the stand being cross-examined by Michael Curtis, during which he asked him if he was angry because Jerry Helton fired Scotty's brother because Doc had told him to do so, or if he had told Manuel Allen that he was mad at Hardin for refusing to falsify a DNA test, that being the grounds for him giving this testimony to authorities. He said he had, to the question of falsifying the DNA test, he said no because he wouldn't have trusted Hardin to do so. McCarty alleges that he and Hardin were among those having an affair with the same woman at the time. Adams asked if Jerry Helton told him, not Adams, but the defense attorney Curtis, my apologies, asked if Jerry Helton told him about the 200 to 300 votes during an election, to which McCarty said no. That was Randy Salyer who told me of the 200 to 300 votes that they had purchased during the election. Curtis also asked him several questions, to which he replied it was only he and Hardin behind his office in 2010 when Hardin gave him money to buy votes. He recanted a conversation with Jerry Helton and one with Larry Shepard on how to manipulate the voting machines, and that 2012 was the last time he worked an election, and that he answered all questions truthfully. He also referred to a conversation with Joe Isaac, he says, with whom he had a job relationship only, saying that Isaac had told McCarty that Evan Green had informed Isaac where the now infamous Mack truck had been burned and located at one point. Under continued cross-examination, this time by attorney Jason Neems for one of the defendants, McCarty was asked again to outline how he used 60 pennies to keep track of the votes that he made on the machines themselves. Will not repeat that testimony as I referred to it briefly yesterday, but the attorneys do bring it back up from time to time, even though it's been covered on occasion, to find out more information. Later, in redirect by the federal prosecutor, McCarty answered that it was clear that the gravel was all used, of course, for Doc, he says, to take care of, later in redirect by the federal prosecutor, McCarty answered that it was clear to him that the gravel was used for Hardin. He also referred to a couple of other elected officials, saying that he was told by Hardin to take care of Grimes in her election, and he also confirmed prior testimony saying that he had been in the truck with John Short and was instructed to do anything and everything it took to get Short elected for state representative. After Scotty McCarty was accused, other defendants, of course, started to take the stand. Taylor, that being the prosecution, brought a Cassandra Neville to the stand. She testified, registered to vote in Magoffin County in 2014. She testified she sold her vote to Tammy Reisner, one of the defendants, in the general election that year, and how a gray-haired woman, she didn't know the name or list it, drove she and her husband and two others to the courthouse that day, where they signed forms and voted while Tammy Reisner stayed in the car. Tammy Reisner telling them to vote for Rooster Reisner and Renee Shepard, after which Tammy paid them $50 each. Following, Neville's husband, Thomas Neville, was also called to the stand. He recounted the same events, and he also pointed to Tammy Reisner in the courtroom and identified her as the one who bought their vote. Tasha Nichols was called to the stand, testified that Mason Daniels, another defendant, came to her apartment and asked who wanted to make some money, and that he took she and one other person to the courthouse, where they voted for Hardin and Rooster Reisner, and that Daniels gave them $40, after which they split between them $20 each. She also ID'd Mason Daniels, in the courtroom before being excused as the one who paid her for her vote. The government called an Angel Fulks, who lived on Middle Fork during the election. She said she voted in the primary and general election of 2014, where Scotty McCarty, my apologies, I have a typo. It says where Scotty McCarty and a man she couldn't remember helped her vote at the courthouse at the absentee voting machine, testifying that they pushed the buttons on the machine for her, for which she was paid $50. Fulks' boyfriend, Mitchell Shepard, also testified to the same account, saying it was Rooster Reisner that offered him and paid him the money to vote, and that Scotty McCarty voted for him on the machine during one election, and that in the general election a man helped him to vote, saying Larry Shepard worked the machine and that Rooster Reisner paid him $50. And the attorney also noted that Larry Shepard's and Susie Salyers' names were the ones on the voter assistance form when he voted. They called Chad Hunley. He testified that he too sold his vote. That he came home one day, his wife was on the phone being asked if they wanted to make $50. They went to the clerk's office, he says. They signed in, went into a room, and a man told them what to do and stood at the door while he voted. Huntley pointed to Larry Shepard as the one who told him what to do, adding that he voted as his wife had been instructed to do so. He stated he only hit the button once, however, after he voted. When Shepard came over, looked at his previous screen to confirm who he had voted for. And then when he came home the following day, the money for their voting efforts was already home. His wife not at home to explain who had brought it at the time. In cross-examination, it does need to be noted, however, he confirmed that the roster showed that he voted in the Meadows precinct, which was not where Rooster was running, and that he did not know who brought that money. The government late this afternoon called Jamie Neal Gibson the one that authorities have confirmed they received a video from, in which it shows, according to the authorities, Gibson selling his vote firsthand to Rooster Reisner. He testified that Scotty McCarty was the one who asked him to vote in the 2014 general election to vote for Rooster Reisner, saying Scotty met him in a parking lot and told him they would take care of it. He said he later met with Rooster when Rooster Reisner approached Gibson's vehicle. Reisner saying, "There are too many people here. I'll come to your house instead." Gibson says it was then when he came to Gibson's house that he got into Rooster Reisner's truck and used his cell phone without Rooster Reisner knowing so to record the conversation and transaction. A video he turned over to the FBI. Gibson also ID'd his voice in court today as that being the one on the recording. However, there were some technical issues during playback that led to a recess with plans of bringing the video back in later. And in fact, here's what we have learned on that front as I'm trying to shuffle through my notes and pages. They were able, I have learned, it was announced in court, they were able to get the video back online. It was late in the evening, and the air conditioning had also gone out in the courthouse as of late afternoon. Their plans are for a timeline from this point further to, in the morning, begin with going over the video that was supplied by Gibson of the vote-buying transaction, and the prosecution looks to shortly or soon thereafter wrap up their case, possibly by noon, which means the defense should take the case possibly by noon tomorrow or thereafter. There is still a possibility that this case might be wrapped up by the end of Friday. As of right now, all we can say is that that is indeed a possibility. We still have a team there. We are going over notes tonight just to make any corrections. I don't think we have any to make at this point, and then we'll pick it up on tomorrow's program with testimony continuing by, of course, the prosecution, which still has the floor, if you will, and then the defense will continue thereafter, and that's where we'll follow the trial as it progresses. That's all I have at this hour, with the exception to say I'll be right back with other local headlines and maybe after a short sip of water. Stay tuned. For high-speed internet starting at 15 meg for all of your gaming, movie, home, and business solutions, or to watch TV, including your favorite local channels without a contract, with hundreds of channels and digital and HD quality, and to stay connected 24/7 with friends and family, a direct line to 911, or to give your business the link it needs, choose telephone service you know is always there. Just click on their link on this site to find out how affordable the latest technology in communications can be. Foothills Communications. More headlines in a moment. Right now, here's your McGoffin Farm Bureau community calendar for this Wednesday. A reminder about the Big Bass Tournament coming up this Saturday, and it might be a wet one. You'll want to dress accordingly, but you'll want to go because they pay $1,000. That's right, and other big cash prizes at the Elk Creek Free Will Baptist Church annual Summer Bass Fishing Tournament. They'll leave Alfrey Boat Ramp on Cave Run Saturday at 6 p.m., weigh in at 2 in the a.m. with a big hourly big fish prize, at $100. Call 548-0118 if you've got any questions. Come see Ernie Thacker. Come see Black Powder Express, the West Liberty Mountain Boys, CJ the DJ, EKB, and more, all performing at the Appalachian Outdoorsman Association Bluegrass Festival this Saturday down in West Liberty. Go to their website, go to their Facebook page under Appalachian Outdoorsman Association. It's got the directions there out of Sagersville and from Moorhead too. Call 349-5878 if you have any questions. Just $10 to get in. Kids 12 and under get in free. They are raising funds for for archery supplies for the young people in this area. It's a great club, expanding with hundreds of members already. If you're an outdoor enthusiast of any kind, you want to find out more about the Appalachian Outdoorsman Association. For the 86th graduating class of the Montgomery County High School, your 30th reunion is coming up on September the 3rd. This will be maybe your last reminder for a while. I'll bring it back up a little later. But if you've got any questions, call 859-314-3453. It's going to be held at the Sagersville Renaissance Center here in downtown Sagersville. And don't forget about the gospel singing this Saturday evening at 7 at the First Community Baptist Church on Route 40 out of Sagersville, about 5 miles. Pastor Lindsey Mead invites everyone to come and hear, and then all singers and musicians to come and be a part of making joyful noises for the rock of our salvation. Saturday, starting at 7 at First Community Baptist. And if you've got a calendar announcement, email it, mail it, Facebook, fax, phone, any way you can get it to the studio. Tell me, we'll tell everyone about it. That goes for birthdays and anniversaries too. Turning to funeral service announcements, we have one that is still being arranged in honor of 33-year-old Roland Bailey of McGoffin County, who passed away on today's date at the Pikeville Medical Center. All we know at this time is of his passing. The McGoffin County Funeral Home tells me that the family is making arrangements at this hour. They'll be announced soon, once again in honor of 33-year-old Roland Bailey. It was just a few days ago that I spoke with McGoffin County head football coach Scotty McCoy about the upcoming team, the camp that they were being a part of and holding here in McGoffin County last week to get ready for a full season of football, which was set to start off with a scrimmage this week and a regular season game at home next Friday hosting Leslie County. Tonight, however, we have learned of what might be called the sudden or unexpected maybe resignation of Coach McCoy, as he apparently has moved on to another county for employment. This, of course, leaves the McGoffin County High School system looking for a replacement, and maybe a quick one at that. McCoy has been at the helm of the Hornets football program now for the past few years, taking it over from his father, who had the position prior to himself. When we spoke with him just days ago, there was no indication that he was entertaining offers from another school, but it appears as though he is taking, according to other local school officials that I've spoken to, a teaching position in Lawrence County, where his wife is also employed in the school system, I believe, as well. Nevertheless, we understand that his position was just official as of today with an official resignation. He told his team, I believe, just yesterday. We've still got a word in to find out more from McCarty personally. We've also placed a few calls in to the athletics director, the principal, and the superintendent, all which were very busy today, and we'll hope to find out more tomorrow. But this does leave the second head coaching position vacant. The girls' basketball position still vacant, as it has been throughout most of the summer after the retiring, if you will, or resignation of Scott Castle, who has moved on after staying with the program for so many years. So now that leaves two positions to fill in this particular manner. We will speak tomorrow with school personnel to find out their plans. I can tell you that the scrimmage, which was set for this week, has been canceled. The home opener, of course, still set pretty much in stone. They'll be hosting Leslie County 1 week from this Friday night. And if you're catching the early show, this is pretty much what local Doppler radar is showing, and my pictures looking outside the studio are showing the same. We've seen some light showers in the downtown Sagersville area and some other parts of the viewing area, and roads are wet and a little slick. We've seen a few of those brief showers throughout much of your day, with the possibility of those continuing tonight. Scattered showers, maybe a thunderstorm or two, but more than likely just a brief shower or two, mainly up until 10 under mostly cloudy skies and a low of 71 degrees. For your Thursday, scattered showers and thunderstorms, mainly after 11. Partly sunny. Temperatures in the upper 80s. Look for it to feel closer to the upper 90s with the humidity factored in. Upper 80s again for your Friday. And a cold front comes for the weekend. Gives us a chance of some heavy rain for a few days on in. For now, that's my time. Thank you for being a part of it. More news that you're guaranteed to only see if we see you back here tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.